اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وقاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتم تسليما على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين علماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلا يوم الدين. أما بعد. الحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone who's on right now. This is another of the Soullutionz podcast, speaking on new Muslim marriages. I'm one of your hosts, Imam Muhammad Abdullah Ameen, and waiting on the other hosts, Amir, Khalil, Abdullahi, Imam, Malik Robinson, and brother Saleh, Abdul Mujeeb. Which all will be on shortly. So this discussion, is going to have a part 2, maybe even a part 3, because there's a lot of things that we're going to touch on in regards to new Muslim marriages. One, we're talking about new Muslim marriages, new Muslims who get new Muslims, who decide to get married. Now, in some cases, it's very rare that a brother takes shahada and a sister takes shahada, and they're new Muslims, and they end up plugging with each other, getting connected, and having talks about getting married. Now, because of the title, we're actually speaking about the new Muslims, new Muslims, not new Muslims that been Muslim for 5 years or 10 years or 12 years and they never been married before. Talking about giving advice to them also, but also giving advice to new shahadas that just become Muslim and then they got married. Now I've known a few cases to where very new Muslims, brother and sister, they took shahada, and Allah Ta'ala ended up making them cross each other's path, and they got married. In these cases, that they is not only that they grow in their marriage, but they Islam grew together. All right, they're learning. They learned everything together. They learn a particular method together. They learn Quran together. They learn Hadith together. They learn all of the sciences of Islam together. At the same time, learning about marriage, the fiqh of marriage, the fiqh of divorce, and they grow with each other. Some cases they may have been married 20 years. Some cases have been married 25 years. Some cases have been married 32 years, and their whole Islamic life together has been their whole Islamic marriage. Neither one of them being married before, neither one of them having children outside of marriage before, and on top of being new Muslims. Right? So the success is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing that is even well known, that it's an obligation to learn about marriage and divorce before getting married. However, it does not necessarily mean that you can't learn about marriage and divorce while you're married. A lot of times, when we learn Islam and we're learning about these topics, a lot of times, many of us are more intrigued with learning about divorce before actually learning about how to stay married and how to have a successful marriage, right? Not saying learning about divorce is not an obligation. It is an obligation, but learn about marriage as well. Learn about how you can stay married, because the most important thing about marriage is about building families, building communities, building legacies. Right? That's the most important thing about marriage. Um, Having relation and providing and all of that is a part of marriage, but the success and the success is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first most important uh, most important thing to establish in a marriage is to establish the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and putting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost in all of the decision making and all of the ideas and all of the goals, that Allah ta'ala is first and foremost, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam after that, right? And you know what I'm saying, the examples um that we go by is the example of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in regards to how he treated his wives, and how he maintained his demeanor and his um character in relation to not just his wives, but to community and to family as well, right? Um, and then we're actually just talking about marriage itself in general. We're not talking about plural marriages. We're not talking about polygyny. All of that is a part, and is a part in is a part of marriage. However, we're not getting into all of them intricate details just yet. We're focusing on just the marriage advice, right? Marriage advice, and how to first build on your marriage as new Muslims, right? As new Muslims first, um, given looking at the fact that this is the era of social media. We may see a lot of success stories and failed stories, but we don't hear a lot about, or we don't know right away if these stories are dealing with new Muslims, or dealing with new Muslim the new Muslim marriages are new Muslims themselves, are new Muslims themselves. Um, and why we're talking about and addressing new Muslims is, but so we're addressing new Muslim because I've been married many times. There's sisters that's been married many times. Certain experiences and things have taken place and has happened to where sometimes sometimes older Muslims has been married a few times. They may um have been tainted, or had certain experiences to where they've been hurt, and they've had experiences to where they may have a little bitterness towards being married itself, not marriage, but really, standoffish and alert to who they're gonna be marrying, who they're trying to marry. You mean, so because it's not something that is marriages in Islam is not something that is new to us. Many of us who've been married and been Muslim for a while, we know the fiqh of marriage, we know the fiqh of divorce. Um, Many of us know how to manipulate, you don't learn how to manipulate the law and the fiqh until you learn it. And many of us go into that position and category. But with new Muslims, they're not focused on trying to manipulate the fiqh, or manipulate the fiqh of marriage or manipulate the fiqh of divorce. They're just actually trying to live it, right? They're actually trying to live, and they're trying to live with each other as a married couple. Especially in the condition, the time that we living in now, to where the zina culture is prevalent, and the dating culture is acceptable, right? You know what I'm saying? The dating culture and the zina culture, you know what I'm saying, before marriage, it leads to drinking the milk before buying the cow. You know what I'm saying? It leads to other vices, that mishaps and mistakes that could possibly happen due to not being married. But the new Muslims that become married, and they're engaged in learning. They're engaged in learning each other. You know what I'm saying? They have a foundation that they can establish. You know what I mean? So the manipulation does not get and draw themselves in. You know, says does not draw themselves in, draw itself into the relationship. Right? I know many of us wish that if we could do it all again, if we could do it all again, if we could start all over, we believe that we can do it better. That's the absolute cap. I'm not, me myself, not thinking about doing nothing all over again. You know, so I appreciate my bumps and my bruises that I've gotten along the way, the years along the way. I appreciate them bumps and bruises, and lets me know, let me know where my strength lie, and why I need to improve, right? What I need to improve, and where, you know what I'm saying, where the problems that I had, that, you know, if I'd have had the knowledge like I got the knowledge now, I know how to do things a lot better. So, you know, so I'm not one to wish that I could do it all over again. However, I do have some regrets, but I appreciate them regrets that I have. You know what I'm saying? I do have some scars. I appreciate them scars. I got shea butter. They heal very fast. Right? But we're trying to help.
Stu said shea
With,
butter.
yeah, that's right, shea butter. Yeah, we're trying to help the new Muslims avoid these bumps and scars and bruises, to where they don't have to, if the Allah Ta'ala will, um, revisit these things. You know what I'm saying? Revisit these bumps, scars, and bruises, or be tainted, or trust issues, have trust issues, or have uh, uh, um, commitment issues. You know what I'm saying? Dedication issues. You know what I'm saying? Following, being a good follower issue. You know what I'm saying? It's like we hear stuff about, well, if my husband lead, so I'll follow. Man always leads. A man always leads. You may be a bad follower, but he's leading in his capacity. You know
But
what
do you think that's an escape route? Uh, Abu Muhammad, that when they say, yeah, I'll follow
if
if he lead. Do you
if
think that's an
he leads
excuse for them?
properly, I follow. That
Yeah. Do you
stuff is
think that's an excuse of being
I,
disobedient? Like, I'm going to be
now
disobedient until I see something.
that's a cap. That's a cap. That's a expression of, I'm really not a good follower in the first place. So I don't even know leadership when I actually see it. That's what I believe that is. They don't really know leadership when they see it, and they really don't know system, order, and structure, because that's not something that they saw growing up, or saw in marriages. A lot of times people go into marriages ego driven. Their ego is what drives their marriage, and their relationship. So when they come into a relationship, they come into a marriage, they come into the marriage believing that the individual that they're married to actually belongs to them, and neither one of y'all belong to each other. Y'all belong to Allah. Y'all are a covering for each other from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the husband is the actual covering, is the covering of the wife, because what the man provides in his provision, in his problem solving, in his protection, and in his procreation, his wife has to submit to that. So if she's never grown up under someone's covering, under someone's problem solving or provision, and protection, right? She don't know how that looks, right? And the same thing for the man too. If the man, the husband, has not grew up under anyone's protection, problem solving, provision, he don't know that he don't the man don't the husband don't know that this is what the man's supposed to do, and he don't know that in the provision is not just financing. It's also is in the provision is protection. In the provision is problem. You know what I'm saying? Only thing that he may understands is procreation, right? He don't understand the other two. Understand all four, then that means he don't understand the vetting process and what he uses to vet, to vet the woman that he's marrying, right? He don't know what is the micromanage, right? Her time, micromanage her toll, her threat, and her trouble, right? Her threat and her trouble falls in line under his problem solving and his protection. You know what I'm saying? Under his problem solving and his protection. So the thing is, even if the man don't know how to lead per se, he's learning as it goes on how to lead,
But
right?
here go the question, Abu Muhammad, right? We would have to identify like what is leading in the aspect of these, this Islamic marriage, because here leading means he pay all the bills, right? In our culture, it means he pays all the bills, right? I get to
That's
stay home, So what if he, that there alone dictate how a marriage should be here, because if his money ain't long, he ain't strong. That's how we look at it here.
that's a gynocratic way of thinking. I mean, so because the idea is that he's paying all the bills and his money is long, all that stuff. That's only setting one part of the provision. That's not everything. That's not including everything that he provides. You know what I'm saying? Provision is not just monetary. You know what I'm saying? He has to provide guidance. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to got to um got save yourselves and your family. Save yourselves and your family from the hellfire, who fuel is men and stone. You know what I'm saying? So how a man is going to save himself and his family? He has to teach them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's prohibitions and his provisions. You know what I'm saying? And teach his family about the intricate tricks and tricks of shaitan that will lead them to the hellfire. He has to teach them their Farul Ain. He has to teach them the proper creed. He has to teach them, you know what I'm saying, how to practice and internalize Islam. He has to teach them the embodiment of Ihsan. You know what I'm saying? He has to teach them to Tasawwuf. You feel what I'm saying? If he can't fulfill all of them foundations and establish them foundations in his household and his family, then he lacks that part of provision and protection. and without that knowledge, there's no way that he could problem solve, right? So to have the idea of that his leading is that he's paying all the bills, that's cap. That's not leading. That's paying the bills. The leading is everything else that I had mentioned. All right. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
I'm sorry. This dude filled up my tank. I told him $40, and he fills up the whole tank.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Now you got a full tank.
Yeah, but now I gotta spend $50. I said 40.
Yeah, so and like someone had just stated, he has to know how to save himself first. You mean, so the only how do
52
we
something. I told him to put 40 in.
how do we save ourselves first? We save ourselves by learning our Father Ayin too, learning what Allah Ta'ala has prohibited, has made permissible, the halal and the haram, the makruh, and staying away from the haram and the makruh. You know what I'm saying? And engage in the halal. You know what I mean? Even, you know what I'm saying? Even if we fall, also he has to know what to do if he falls into doing something haram. He knows he has to know how to make Toba and know what facilitates the conditions of Toba. You follow me? He has to know that as well. That's how he saved himself also. You know what I'm saying? So in the new marriage, both of them at the same time are engaged in learning all of this together. You know what I'm saying? This is what is meant by grow together. You know what I'm saying? Even when they're established established commerce together, working together, you know what I'm saying, building to buy a house or building a business, they both doing this together along with learning how to live as new Muslims. All right. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah, so this is what we're addressing and talking about. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Everything that I mentioned is important. How, you know what I'm saying? However, these things has to be instilled and informed to, you know what I'm saying, to new Muslim marriages. We hardly ever really hear about marriage workshops, right? We pretty much learn about divorce by default, right? I mean, we come, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean by ego. The marriage and the relationship is ego driven, because the minute something is not right to your liking, to your pleasure, then you want out, men and women, right? So because, you know, as it relates to that, the ego is what's driving the marriage. It's not love for Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and love for each other. You know what I'm saying? I remember it was one time a man had told Umar ibn Khattab that he wanted to divorce his wife, because he didn't love her anymore. And Umar ibn Khattab, and he said, "What about honor? What about respect? What about all of these other qualities that can help people marriage together?" You know what I'm saying? The love, you know what I'm saying? Your love is supposed to be for Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger. And if we loving each other, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we loving each other for the sake of Allah, then we're gonna treat each other well because of our love for Allah and His Messenger.
But now here go another thing, Abu Muhammad, right? is that you said something very beneficial, right? You said love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now I'm gonna ask you this question, then I'm gonna go, then I'm gonna dive into it, right? How do you love someone you don't know?
How can you love someone you don't know?
Meaning that
Because
if these people don't know nothing about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? How can you love someone that you don't know, you're not trying to know about, right? Because the furthest they know is the hadith, right? The hadith. This is the intellectual deficiency of the people here. That you hear the hadith, but what about the Prophet? Like I said this in that last slide we did before. I said they don't even know when the Prophet was born. So how do you love the Prophet, right? If you don't know nothing about the Prophet, and then you have a false belief of Allah. Some of us have the Christian belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the heavens on the throne, looking at everybody, chilling. So how can we love each other for these two things when we know nothing about a Prophet and about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
all right, so I'm gonna answer your question with a question, but a statement. All right. When an individual accepts Islam, they take Shahadatain, the Shahada La ilaha illallah, Shahada Muhammad Rasulullah. Are not them people at that point the people of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? All right. At that point, they're the people of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until they do an action or say something that takes them outside of that. Because they're the people of La ilaha illallah, it's obligatory for you to love the people of La ilaha illallah, right? And that has no condition that they know about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that love, Allah ta'ala placed it there related to their sincerity. If they're sincere, when they accept Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and they became the people of La ilaha illallah, Allah Ta'ala gonna eventually put that love there. Because after making that proclamation, that revolutionary declaration, the first obligation for them to do is to learn how to perform wudu, and to how to perform the prayer, and to learn how to perform the prayer, and learn everything related to the prayer, and learn everything related to purification, right? So in doing that, they're gonna develop and discover and build a love for Allah and His messenger. Now, mind you, we're talking about new Muslim marriages, right? We're not talking about us old timers and old heads been Muslim 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and
Because
we
they got too many issues.
bumps and bruises along the
But
way.
They got too much going on.
Some scars and scratches. We need to heal it with shea butter. You know what I'm saying? And keep it moving, right? And dealing with issues that's related to related to doubts that we have developed in time that we may have didn't have before. We're not talking about us. We're talking about new Muslims,
right,
new
right, and right,
men
and right,
that they come into
right, and that goes into something else. You see that everything I'm lining it up to show you that, right, that we have to not just teaching them about marriage, right, because that is a big thing, right, teaching them these things, right, but we have to understand, right, love is a big issue that we are having a problem with the younger generation, right? They can't identify love,
Well,
right,
it depends on how you define it. You define
right.
it if you define it
That's what I said.
according to like some psychology or something like that, and promoting it as an emotion, the thing that has saved you from all of the trauma that many of the old head Muslims are going through. And I say old head, I'm talking about just people that's been Muslim for a long time and always got a lot of issues, is you have to learn how to love someone for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and dislike them or dislike their actions for Allah ta'ala. That's the biggest problem. You know what I mean?
But that's learning about Allah, right? That's learning about Allah.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of it.
Right?
You about to take this somewhere. You about to take this somewhere where
nah,
where we ain't even intending going. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because the battle we fight, we're always battling with people, and we keep referring back to Aqidah, and we keep referring back to this.
Yo, I'm not.
Hold on, hear me out. And what Muhammad said is absolutely true. When a person becomes Muslim, they're not worried about all that. They just want Allah and His Messenger. They get with us, and we start turning them. Right? I'm not saying it's totally bad. I'm not saying it's totally good. But sometimes we have to let the issue arise or happen first. Right? Like when I was a convert, and the same stuff that's going on now was going on back then. Right? But
I can't say that. I can't say that.
I'm telling you, it's no different, Saleh. It's no different. There's nothing special about this generation versus the generations before. You were battling. We were battling in the masjid. Everybody was fighting. Dudes was getting married. We just had more principle that we took from elders, our grandparents and things like that. But it's the same nonsense.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Principles go a long way.
Matter of fact, dudes was beating their wives more back in the day than they do now.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm going off for principles, right? I'm going off for principles, right? But like example, right? Go ahead.
No, but what I'm saying is that with new Muslims, I done married people two people who took Shahada, married them, right? Many of them are still together to this day. To this day, they pray together, they go to the same masjid, they attend classes. This stuff that we got going in Mexican standoff, that's basically from the tainted Muslims. We jaded, man. We jaded. We trying all kinds of. Most of the Muslims that are jaded, it's because they want to bring kufr into Islam. A new Muslim is looking like, yo, I'm done. I'm tired of smoking weed. Majority Muslims smoke weed now. Why is that? Because they think they think it's cool. They think. But
that's what I'm saying. It's and the reason why, like I said, what I was saying, which was lining up to this, right? It's not about Aqidah, right? It's about identifying. This is what I said. When we start talking about the youngins, this is something I'm very in tune with them, right? Mm-hmm. That we're in a generation now where they don't know it. Like when we was down in Atlanta, right? And we asked one of these young brothers, right? These young brothers outside Atlanta, these young boys, 16, 17, 18, 19, and some of them even graduated high school, right? Was outside, guns on them, right? And I asked them, I said, where did we fail with y'all? Right? Mm-hmm. Where did we fail with y'all? This was a question I asked one of the young boys. Wallahi Azim. And the brother said, time and love. These brothers, these young, and he was Muslim, right? And the thing is that they don't know how to identify that anymore. What is it in this generation now, right? These young boys is talking about, right? They talking about killing their cousins.
But they've been killing their cousins.
No, I'm talking about glorifying it. Like, yo, I would slide on my cousin. I would backdoor my cousin. You think about the songs back then when you was growing up, it was about honor.
Jay-Z shot his brother and put it in a rap.
Yeah, but he also said in the rap that he loved his brother.
No.
I'm talking about these young boys say that I don't care if it's on site. I don't care nothing about my family. You give me the right amount of money, I will kill everybody. Right? They don't know what it's like to be hell, right?
Well, and I'm not just saying. You got a conglomerate, different conglomerates of people nowadays. You're speaking about right now one type of people. There's more people than just that. There's other Muslims, people that are becoming Muslims that's not into that stuff. They may have some other issues that they need to tackle. If we exemplify and show the example of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? We make too many excuses. The main reason why we're failing is because we prefer kufr over the deen. We're not taking the time up and setting up and learning, right? I learned a lot of Islam early on in prison, right? And I haven't seen a program, and I'm saying I can say this. I haven't seen a program that even touch what we know. Every brother I was locked up with, we all got together in the streets. We all got married. All of us were talking about having children. Children. Brothers. Some brothers was like, look, I'm gonna find me a woman that ain't never been with a man before. And I know this one brother particularly, he waited daggone there about 3-4 years before he did it. I'm telling you, everybody's situation ain't like that. People that's active in the streets, they're gonna have a street mentality. They're gonna have a street mentality. If you're not in the masjid, you're not trying to be around the believers, you can attribute all of the faults in the world you want to them. But what matters is be there for the deen. And you can't constantly let people run your most masjids, most especially African American masjids, are empty. Who goes to the masjid? And then when they pick up to go to the masjid, they go to a foreigner masjid where nobody really even cares about you. They have nothing in common. But what we're talking about is young Muslims, new Muslims, they still have the concept and idea of getting married. The problem is that we have to direct them and give them that model that the Prophet ﷺ had with his wife. Like most of the time when we talk about the Prophet ﷺ, when we talk about hadith, we always trying to beat somebody in the head, right? There's times where the Prophet ﷺ, we don't even promote that. Where he used to play, play with his wife, race with him, sit back. Remember the Eid with the Abyssinians, Abyssinians during the Eid, they were sparring with the spears and stuff like that. Him and Aisha was chilling and watching it. You see what I'm saying? So these type of things, they used to be a problem. Used to be far out. Brothers be like, I ain't going there. There's that dunya and stuff. We gotta start being practical. The Sahabas, when they used to go home, remember they was perplexed that they even came to the Prophet ﷺ. They said, Ya Rasulullah, when we with you all day, it's about Allah, his messenger. But when we get home with our families, we feel like hypocrites because basically like we relax. We have to learn how to learn that balance. But no, a lot. I'm not gonna say nobody's focusing on it. When you hear about marriage, 90% of the time, it's about polygyny, a dowry, whether it's expensive or inexpensive, right? What the man's supposed to do. We can get that without even being Muslim, because that's what the same thing the non-Muslims argue about. But when we become Muslim, we have to be bringing and bring something different to the table. And we're not giving that to our young. And most of the time, our young or new Muslims, we just shoving them with a book, tell them watch YouTube, and they figure it out on their own. That's why it's failing. You know what I mean? That's why it's failing. The issues that you have that's deeply rooted from your upbringing, Islam is going to change that as time presents itself. But if we're not presenting a program and everything that we're doing is about beefing about where's Allah, does Allah have limbs, no limbs, etc., all day, all night, and don't. I'm not saying that these issues are mundane, but you're not going to build a community nor a family based on it. You're not.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not even going to Aqidah, right? I'm going into the concept and the logic of what these kids are thinking, right?
Mm-hmm. They ain't think about that though.
Feel what's going on with them, right? Right, and one of the things, like I said, I'm not even going into Aqidah. I said identifying something, right?
Right.
If you can't identify, they feel as though it ain't real no more, right? That's what I'm saying. How can you love someone when they feel as though I can't see it? I don't know if it's real or not. Right?
Everybody feels like that.
What's being molded in these young guys?
Think about it. Allah addressed people in the Quran when they denied it. They denied it the resurrection. Allah challenges them. That's natural. That's natural. The thing is I'm agreeing. I'm telling you, I'm kind of like answering what you're saying. Is that we have to bring it back to how did the Prophet ﷺ address it? Disbelievers don't believe in nothing. They don't believe in nothing. And unfortunately, because of the lack of education and in the learning on behalf of the Muslims that are uninformed, they share the same beliefs. How many Muslims read horoscopes? New Muslim or old Muslim likewise. How many of them recognize themselves as a Virgo, Sagittarius, Capricorn in the house. I only act like this because I'm a Libra, and I don't do this because I'm a Cancer. Like, come on, that stuff has nothing to do with it.
That's what I was saying, and that's why I'm just getting cut off. Just what I'm saying is leading up to what I'm saying, right? And you got to understand what these kids are also being molded with is that, like Abu Muhammad said, you got to know this is your brother, right? But what are they being molded with? Every one of us heard these people out here saying it. Everybody ain't your brother. So if you molding a generation after generation saying this ain't really my brother, he ain't like that, I ain't gonna be able to love you.
That's something that's
every brother isn't my brother, and this is what this is how they're feeling. So it's like, what do we really do? What we really do is show brotherhood. But the problem is, when it comes to us, we're not showing brotherhood because we can't even be together. What did the brothers of the say? Who would be underneath the shade? Brothers who meet for his sake and part for his sake.
Right.
We ain't even meeting up nowhere to do anything.
Well, I see y'all every day.
I'm saying, but this is the reality. A lot of time when we get married and we start getting yams, y'all gotta go to work. My wife want this. We forget all about brotherhood, and we have to show brotherhood.
That's facts. Nobody.
And we ain't displaying it.
But once again, though, Sully, that ain't the new Muslim problem. Because either they already coming.
But it has to start. But it has to start somewhere. You have to see it.
Now, all your old head brothers, a lot of y'all go MIA after you get married.
Like with me, like
I'm like, yo, where the brother at? Oh man,
that's what I'm saying. It starts somewhere. It starts somewhere, and then they like, man, look, I can't even. You know what I mean? Like, well, what I'm gonna do? Ain't nobody around. Ain't nobody this. Ain't nobody doing it. The only time we meet up is a family night, and then a family night, it's your boing boing. It's booty cheeks.
I don't know.
Then after the family night, you don't see nobody no more.
But guess what? Listen, if a person on the outside looking in, right? Like right now we having this dialogue, it sounds pessimistic, and that's what most of Muslims sound when I talk to them.
But we have to look at it like that. Why do the youth join gangs?
They're looking for some sort of brother. You join a football team for the same thing. You join a college fraternity for the same thing.
Right, but if you don't see it, but you gotta see it. They're looking, so you gotta show it. If we're not showing it, they ain't gonna see. They ain't gonna find it. So
let me ask you this: all this that you mentioning, then what does this do? What does this have to do with new Muslim fan? What advice would you give? Because everybody ain't joining the game. Not everybody. So we got to give a general. You got to give a general message. What would be the general message that you would give
to the new Muslims?
Yeah,
man. What I would say, man, don't be discouraged if you got to worship Allah by yourself.
You usually learn that when you start going to the masjid and you dedicate it, because most of the people ain't going.
Right, but think about it. Why you think the Salafi movement is big? Because it's being in the crowd.
That's right, is that too. It's
I'm not saying that it's not the same. I'm saying why it happened, right? Something it has to happen for a reason, right? I'm saying how it happened because it was being inside of the crowd, being involved in something. What I'm saying is that, it has to start. We say the new Muslims, but we have to start bringing examples for the new Muslims. We can say, don't do this. It's like preaching to the choir. It's like preaching to the choir.
Back to the jaded crowd. I'm burnt out with the jaded crowd.
Yeah,
I'm just saying we have to show.
We're not even thinking about the jaded crowd.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not involved. I'm just giving examples of what is going on out here. What's really going on with it? Like,
we know that.
This is why I be on point sometimes. And what I'm saying, I forget the jaded. I'm just saying why, because it's a lot of other things. Because we tell a young boy, yo, we shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. It's like being parents, right? It's like being parents. It's like
you gonna get that from the Quran too.
But what is more? Me telling you what to do. Me telling you what to do, and me picking you up and showing you the examples of what we should be doing. What's better?
Both. And I get what you're saying, because most of the time, the dialogue with young people. Matter of fact, be honest with you, most people will tell young people don't get married now, because that's really the truth.
Most people tell young people
don't get married.
Get to know each other before you get married.
To know, right?
And that's what I said. We got to combat that by action, by showing.
Well, I mean, right now, honestly, I mean, I'm married. Muhammad's married. That's how you show them. You stay married. You at least try to. And if it don't work out, you show them
But here we go. But then with the new married crowd, do we pick them up like, yo, we gonna have a couples date?
I mean, you can, but they grown.
But that's what we should, because then they should then allows the wife to have friends. But this is what we think. We're talking about an antisocial. These kids are coming off of iPhones. They don't know how to talk to nobody. They don't know how to look at nobody. They don't know how to say hi. That's how we got to show. Like, yo, come on out with us, me and my wife. Come on, let's go ahead and go do this, bro.
There's cultural practices that may have shifted from per generation to generation, but it still doesn't erase the fact of dialogue. Doesn't erase dialogue, man. The problem is that we don't know how. It just seems like we don't know how to interact with other people. I don't have a problem with young people. Matter of fact, I keep most of the people around me is under the age of 40. Honestly, you know, with the exception of Muhammad and a few other old heads, but they're under 40. I understand them. Some of them guys, they ain't in the streets. Some of them are into the streets. You have to deal with them. And this is where it comes from with the Prophet Saleh. He was able to deal with everybody, every single person. You see what I'm saying? We just taking the time out with this segment to deal with new Muslim marriage, because there's always people discouraging them. All you see is negativity. All we talk about on the internet is how bad Muslims are. How bad Muslims are. People are probably, there's people right now that's probably in their 30s and probably end up dying without ever getting married, because they got a negative opinion. We gotta start promoting to have a good opinion of people. We don't even do that.
Straight.
It just be straight. It's just straight Soullutionz, you know, straight evil opinion. You know what I mean? Don't let the person grow up in your neighborhood and they become Muslim. You be like, man, they start talking about what they used to do in the past. Like, they still doing it? Well, I don't know. You know, it's harder. Leopard don't change the spots and all that kind of stuff. This is what we up against. So when nobody believes in you, you start stepping back and like, yo, I ain't messing with y'all either. And you start to find the motivation. You start to find the motivation within yourself to keep pushing. We want to help be that motivation for that next generation or that neglected generation, right? So that, you know, that's what we're talking about. We want to be that motivation for them. We want to give them something. You know what I'm saying? Give them something to talk about. You know what I mean? Give them something to be proud of. You know, like for instance, like I don't talk about my personal business. I have one wife been married to 15 years. My other wife have been married 5 years. You know what I'm saying? My third wife, we just got remarried. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, you know, people see it. I don't talk about me being in polygyny, but anybody who knows me personally knows I'm in polygyny. It ain't nothing to talk about. This is what we practice. But because we always have a lot of rhetoric, I've seen people undermine and destroy their family by constantly keep having that talk about getting multiple wives. You know what, babe? So how you gonna act if I get it, bro? You just gonna have to test it out and just see what type of fire gonna come from, right? And a person of Tawheed, a person of that belief in Imam, they're gonna ask Allah Ta'ala for assistance before they even approach the matter anyway. And they're gonna put their tawakkul and their trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. This is what we're moving away from, and this is why we're constantly having the problems we have. That Iman is gone. It's all darkness. And when you start speaking Iman and start speaking optimism, there's always somebody there to throw rocks. And you're like, I don't know about that. Negativity.
You know what Sunnah is lacking. The Sunnah is one Sunnah that is lacking is that an individual prays the Qara for about every decision that a serious life-changing decision that they make.
Yep.
They pray Istikhara first.
Yep.
Ask Allah Ta'ala for guidance and direction. And then after they pray Istikhara, they move forward. They either gonna get married or not. They either gonna divorce or not. They either gonna establish a business or not. They either gonna get back in school or not. You
exactly.
know what I mean? But everything that they do, they start with making Istikhara first. One thing that I've noticed about new Muslim marriages that they come into Islam together and they learn Islam together is that they're living and dealing with each other is solely based off of them able to get to get along with each other.
Yeah.
Many of the situations of the past, it failed because they don't work well with others. They don't know how to get along. They don't even know how to communicate.
Nah.
Because they don't know how to listen. Communication is more listening than speaking. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I'm saying. The thing is, with a new couple, like I said in the beginning, you know what I'm saying. The new Muslim marriage, they're learning everything together. So they don't have time to occupy themselves with trying to get away from each other. You know what I'm saying? They don't have time to occupy their thoughts with whether I'm going to take me another wife or not. You know what I'm saying? That's still something that's going to actually grow with them. Each one of them going to get to the point that it's about Allah and His Messenger, and that if Allah Ta'ala bless them to expand their family through another marriage, then they're going to be open to it.
Right.
You know, because at the end of the day, the main provider is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You mean that's who the provider is. You know, so you don't have a whole lot of money if there's no barakah put in the money. Who puts barakah in it? Allah Ta'ala.
And that's also another thing too. We don't talk about that barakah when things are able to come together when you have ease in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, you know, for instance, sometimes some situations are chaotic because how we went about it was haram anyway. The barakah is gone from the time you touch it. And then you go in it and it's like the thing is chaotic. You sitting there trying to figure it out. Right? You know, like you'll have, like, I've seen brothers marry these kind of women, right? They had a sister, the new sister, because some brothers like that ratchetness, that runch. They love the spice, right? They'll have the good sister, you know, that's learning deen, you know, trying to be the good wife, and you push them over to the negative Nancy's too. Try to be the good wife, etc., etc. Meanwhile, he's still hanging out at night in the bars. He's still, you know, boing in his baby mama and all that other stuff. And then, you know, all of a sudden you just got a case of the good girl going bad because the negative Nancy's can't wait to get to her. And the first thing she do is what? Put it on Facebook, right? Or usually something, and if she going through something, and she like one of the women that got men on her page, and she put up there, you know, sad and lonely. Guess who in her inboxes? Ding! Sound like a sister. What's wrong? You know? Oh, no, my husband, he hasn't been home in a couple of nights. I just found out his baby mama. Astaghfirullah, your marriage may not even be valid. And then who trying to slide off with her? Woman get married in a polygyny. First night, first week she in polygyny. She know everything about the other family, you know, and then things don't go her way. Then she's crying to the next brother. I should have married you, baby. Come on, that's nothing but fitna. But we're talking about good Muslims, trying to be good Muslims. I know a lot of good Muslims that got married after right at Shahada. I know one brother particularly. Him and his little high school sweetheart, they got married, right? But they didn't get married right away. He took Shahada. He went home and he started like, yo, we can't be together no more. Yo, we can't do this. We can't do that. The sister came to the masjid and sat down with the Imam and a few other brothers like, I don't know what y'all did to him. He won't even have relations with me. She don't know our code. She wasn't even Muslim. That girl ended up taking Shahada and they got married. You see what I'm saying? So it's a matter of your introduction, the introduction of that person, and which way they're gonna go. That's the hidayah from Allah Ta'ala. That's Allah Ta'ala's guidance. Because when Allah Ta'ala wants good for you, He gives you understanding of the deen, and He makes amal salih something easy for you to practice. He makes it easy for you to practice. Even if your knowledge isn't all that sound, it's that sincerity. Allah will give you that and guide you through that thing. A lot of times we don't look at the, you know, look for the barakah. You know what I mean? Sometimes we think that we own our actions. What does Allah Ta'ala say in the Quran? Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara ila Allah. Allahu ghaniyyun hamid. Right? Allah Ta'ala tell you in the Quran, O mankind, right? All of you are destitute. Y'all are in need. The fuqara. You're not miskin. You fakir. You ain't got nothing. And you need Allah Ta'ala. Allah is not, and Allah vindicates himself from his creation, because you always like to liken Allah Ta'ala to creation. Humans, I'm talking, in particular, disbelievers, right? Wallahu Hamid, right? Ghaniyun Hamid. Allah Ta'ala is absolutely independent, not in need of anything, and he's always praised. We don't possess those attributes. So that goes to show us that our hidayah, that we're absolutely needed. We absolutely need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we think we got this thing, and it shows, especially when, you know, a person falls off and they get back on. Have you ever noticed it? It's almost like they just pick up where they left off at, and they just start talking and criticizing other people. We think that getting on our deen is criticizing people and making sure we make all 5 of our squats. Alhamdulillah, after you make 5, there's other things to do. There's other things that you're lacking in. If Umar was walking around asking Hudhayfa, who am I amongst the munafiqs? Am I amongst the hypocrites? Then who the hell are we? You see what I'm saying? We don't have that touch. Like you were mentioning, that Sirah, that connection with Sirah. That's why we had that program yesterday. And there's more to come with it. But that's why we did it. So that people can start having that and knowing about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's something that's important. But when you keep ignorance around, it's nothing but darkness. It removes the light.
But that's what it was going back to what I was trying to say.
Right.
And you don't have to go deep in the complex about Allah is one. You have to, what's tatwil and tafweed.
Yeah.
Tell them the basic about Allah. You gotta know something to love it. That's what it is. Once you touch money, you gonna love money. You start touching money, you're gonna start chasing money. That's how society goes. And with us, we got so many other beliefs. Social media is destroying them. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, then we're not living with examples, right? Us, like you said, the old farts, right? The old farts, which some of y'all are the old farts, y'all brown, but like I said, coming from me, bro, with me, I'm 36. What I didn't have, being married, I didn't get invited to dates. I want to see what a healthy married couple looks like. What does it look like? You got to understand these kids are coming home from destructive homes. Some of these young kids got it together just because,
because they had that determination and Allah guided them.
Right. And also you had, you have some, what I seen, the new shahadas or the young Muslims that stay together is the ones that married young.
Yeah, because they missed all of that. There's a stain that comes with zinat.
Right, and we're protecting them from that, and that's what I seen. But
there's a stain that comes with zinat.
And then the new shahadas, what we all was there before. You was there years ago. I was there. You was hungry for what? Knowledge.
Come from zinat too.
Knowledge.
Say that again.
There's a stench that come from zinat too.
No.
We wanted knowledge, and we just got to feed them the stuff that's going to be able to get them from A to B in a good fashion. The first thing that we a lot of them learn is what? This is haram, that's haram, that's halal, that's halal, go on your way. Take this book, read Sahih al-Bukhari.
But look though, see, now this is where I recognized this years ago. I don't agree with that total method, like, don't tell them about everything. Right? I'm gonna give you a story. There was a group of girls that came in my house, right? I tell this story 1,000 times. It was probably like 5 or 6 of them. There was a sister that lived around the corner from me. She came to my house. We live in South Philly. She came to my house, brought all these girls, right? My wife at the time sat in the house with her for hours. They were just doing girl things. They got shahadas out of these girls. They were chilling, hacking it, right? Me, I'm out on the grind. I'm doing my 1 and 2s. I get a call. My wife's like, look, we need to come home. I need to talk to you. It's very important. So I get home. I'm like, yo, what's up? She's like, Khalil, calm down. I need to talk to you. Let's go upstairs. So I'm like, what's up? She was like, listen, and she broke it down to me. I was teaching these girls, you know, they took Shahada, and you know, I told them that, you know, they can't wear hair weave no more. You know, they need to do this and do that. And one of them is a boy. And I'm like, oh. She's like, calm down. Like, they just took Shahada. This was my intro to knowing that the youth was gonna go gay. Right? This is my intro, and I ain't saying that negative. If you gay, you gay. Right? I knew young people was going gay at this moment. Now I could have got old school, like, you know, like my elders taught me. We need to take them down to the tallest building and throw them all. I could have did all that, but I sat back and I said, yo, I don't know what to do, and I made dua that Allah guide me through it. Anyway, make a long story short, to speed it up, the same boy that took Shahada, I seen the boy. He was married and everything, and that was the last I seen of him. He was married, and this was almost 2 years after he took Shahada. Now I almost didn't recognize him because he had a beard and everything. The boy was bald faced when I seen him. He looked like a girl, a bald headed girl, right? You don't look like the woman king. But anyway, but the bottom line is that the Islam was there. He didn't live in Philly. He really wasn't from Philly. So where he went back to the area. It was in the area, but he went back to his area. He came, and it was, from what I seen, the last I seen, and inshallah I pray he's still on that. He was a strong Muslim. He was displaying signs of a strong Muslim. And he was married to a girl. You see what I'm saying? But if a person wants to do evil, they're gonna do evil. And I give you another gay story. Right? There was a young boy that took Shahada. Malik, I think you remember this, Malik. I think I told you about this. And the young boy took Shahada. Sheikh Hanif brought him to me, like, listen, man, young boy just took Shahada, talk with him, man, take him under your wing. So anyway, make a long story short, he's kind of classes. He called me on the phone. I'll talk to him when we text and stuff like that. And he started asking me about, he has a friend that's gay. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, what is he trying to take Shahada? He was like, it's not a he, it's a she. I said, okay, cool. I was like, well, you gotta be careful, having the friends of the opposite sex, you know what I'm saying? He's like, well, she gay. And I'm like, okay, cool. I said, he's like, well, she's interested in Islam. I said, all right, cool. Right? So he kept talking, going on. And I'm like, well, listen, I got an idea. He said, what? I said, when your friend takes Shahada and she knows that, it's impermissible for Muslims to be gay, won't you marry her? Y'all already friends. Y'all probably make the best couple, right? So he was like, no, I don't think so. Blah, 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 right? Still talking, he texted me, we, texted throughout the week, et cetera, checking in. I'm like, yo, did you memorize this? Or checking, asking about Fatiha, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out the Joker was talking about himself. He was gay. And he came out and told me, he was like, yo, I've never met a person that actually stood and practiced Islam the way that you do, blah, blah, blah. But I want to tell you that I'm gay. And I can't. And this is why I just stopped talking to him after that. He was like, because it just angered me. He said, it's hard for me to concentrate when I'm in the masjid with all the
that water glistening all over your body. That water glistening all over your body.
But the bottom line is, this has now been introduced as like a way of life. And so now you're combating against that too. Can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? So yes, it's a lot of perplexity dealing with new Muslims, but new Muslims are getting married and they coming in, like look, usually it's the guy takes Shahada. No, I ain't even gonna just restrict it to guys. I've seen girls come in and take Shahada and they got a dude that they want to take Shahada too. You know what I mean? Like, look, my boyfriend, he wants to become Muslim. I've seen women where they leave the man that they're with and they end up getting married. How do you think we learned about it? In the Quran, it happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Women become Muslim, and the man didn't follow up and become Muslim at that, right after that. Then what happened? Their marriage becomes null and void, and she's free to move on and marry someone else. So these things do happen, but marriage, nobody. I don't think nobody should discourage nobody from marriage unless they just a horrible individual.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
They just
Like
a horrible individual.
I
Yo,
have
Leak, you
I
quiet,
got
man. Come on, Leak, man.
one of them. I got one of them stories too. You mean one of my ex-wives, her cousin had AIDS, right?
Mm-hmm.
The older brother, he ended up taking Shahada. I want to say in like 94, 95, and his whole life, you know what I'm saying, he was gay. But the minute he took Shahada, he started trying. Now during this time, they didn't have the medication. They only had the medication for AIDS that would like maintain his life, maintain his immune system and all this type of stuff. But
Right.
he was immediately trying to get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he, you know what I'm saying, long story short, he, you know what I'm saying, because the group that he had took Shahada with, they didn't really like do a whole lot of follow-up. So family was doing a lot of follow-up with him and learning, teaching, and he was learning and stuff. But the thing is, because he was HIV positive, it was hard for him during that time to get married. So because of that, he just was discouraged about marriage. He didn't go back to the lifestyle that he was living. He just, you know what I'm saying, didn't follow up in Islam. So when he finally died from complications, like he died like 25 years later.
Mm-hmm.
His brother was trying to bury him as have a Christian funeral, but
Right.
you know what I'm saying, his nieces and his nephews, his cousins, you know what I'm saying, they was like, no, he was Muslim. He never denounced Islam. However, even though he didn't practice, you know what I'm saying, but he never denounced it. I met him a couple of times, and the way his demeanor wasn't a demeanor that you pick up. Oh man, dude is a fruitcake. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have that persona. He
Right.
just, you know, just didn't like practice deen or nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you know, you have a lot of people that's like that. You follow what I'm saying? And then some of them, they eventually do get married.
Yeah.
And their marriages, they have a ongoing successful marriage.
Yo, one of my, I mean, that could probably be another talk. I promise you, I probably have more stories than y'all, but you know, dealing with homosexuality.
Man, I'm from Jersey.
You know what
I'm
I
from
mean?
Jersey. We don't really see too much of that going on.
Nah, y'all got them cakes over
Even
there.
with even with
Y'all go ahead with all that.
even with
Man,
Huh?
we talking about the Muslim world. You don't really, man. You know, probably.
even with the Akita stuff. I'm from Chicago. Back in the day,
Look, probably.
it wasn't they didn't have no formality of teaching creed. You had formality of teaching creed, but the majority of the Muslims that you run into back in the day, it was like, look, I don't know about what you're talking about. I know Allah is God. I know Allah is God, and I know Allah ain't no man. You follow what I'm saying?
You know it's interesting that you say that, Muhammad, because naturally it's a natural inclination. It's the fitra that people know that a lot of their lifestyle is abomination, is not accepted. Right from the rip. You know what I mean? You remember people used to literally almost burn themselves up if they were smoking a cigarette and they seen a Muslim.
Yeah.
People would like hide the fact that they had girlfriends. They wouldn't know, you know, brothers to come like shamefully, you know. And this is where, if you're in a position of influence, or whether leadership as imam or otherwise, and somebody's coming to you and they come to you like, look, you know, I'm trying to get married. You know, I develop a habit of asking people like, all right, so the person you trying to marry, y'all dealing already? Like I'm not even judging you. The fact that you want to correct this is what's amazing. Because you could live like other people and just stay as boyfriend girlfriend. So this is what you're trying to do? You trying to get married? Yeah, I get criticized a lot by the imams about this, right? And so what they do, oftentimes they do is they'll take one bad situation and highlight on that, but they don't know anything about the other people. You see what I'm saying? So, but the thing is that, yo, if they coming, let's go, let's get it. I want to encourage you to do good, right? And that's what, that's what bring people, you encourage them, right? You said, Leak, you remember my block in South Philly? Pitt Street, that joint was a jungle. What happened? I had half the brothers on the block coming in.
Yo, Malik, man, what's going on?
So,
Malik got the vouch face. Yo, he doing it. Yo, Malik, ain't that true?
So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's you got those situations, but you got to be encouraging. Can't be negative.
Yeah,
you gotta be encouraging.
And you're right. Like, and and I want, like I said, man, I want my, the young people to get married, man. Like, that's a beautiful thing. You see, I spoke to you early, with the last one, I said, yo, we got to start pushing our kids to get married young, because from what I've seen, it's always the most successful, right? They didn't have a taste of that of a good fanny pack yet. They don't know what it's like. You get what I'm saying? They don't know what it's like to experiment. Some of them, yo, married them, yo, you like him, you starting to like boys, you starting to like this, and we emphasize it for the ones that's new shot and they older, but know what it's like. They tasted something before. They've been in a prior relationship before. We just gotta show them what's healthy relationships.
I got a question for you, Malik. Right? I got a question for you, because you seen your parents married. How much did that play on you having a relationship, your own relationships?
I think it played like good and bad, because you know what I'm saying, good in the aspect that I seen it, so I always wanted it, but bad in the aspect that I held on to stuff a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, because I wanted that, because that's what my parents had. So I held on to a lot of situations that was dead, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, this is how I was raised. My mom and dad, they stuck it out, no matter what. And it's like a lot of times I should have clipped that joint, but
you put your best effort forward though.
Yeah, definitely.
You see what I'm saying? And your parents are Muslim. That's why I'm saying that. So by extent, just by default, that influence, when your children see this, right? When your children see this, they be like, yo, I grew up Muslim. You know what I mean? My parents was always married.
Crazy, not to cut you off.
Yeah, see what I'm
saying? Crazy. These broken homes that we have,
I think it's doing the opposite, right? I agree.
It affect our kids, and we see it. Like, I see it with my son now. My son only 5 years old, but like he be asking me stuff like, Dad, won't you and Mommy get remarried? And my son only 5 years old, but like you got to sit back and think about your part you played in that. Like, yo, we got to, really try to establish these marriages on khair, and just not just getting together, linking up for, like you said, some cheeks, some yams, or just for it. Got to, got to really be lit love, man, or we just out here just doing whatever.
Exactly. That goes back to what I was saying. It all goes back to that, man. And like what I think from y'all, as y'all being the OGs, y'all should start marriage night. You married, y'all married. We're gonna have one, just one time out of the month. The marriage couples, we all gonna go somewhere. We're gonna go bowl. We're gonna go, we're gonna go eat. We're gonna go do this, and it would show more like, dang, look how happy they is. Even though we may not know what goes on behind closed doors. But you're displaying.
My old behind fall asleep, right?
You're displaying.
Like, what's they about to have a little candle lit boat ride on the ferry. Another man.
We gotta start. We gotta start doing that somewhere down the line. We gotta start doing it, because it just gonna seem like you're lecturing us.
I might fall asleep and I still be in the conversation.
We already know.
That's cool. But think about it. That's a memory. That's a memory for the new marriage. Like, yo, that brother Abu Muhammad, right? Every time we go out somewhere, that nigga fall asleep somewhere. It's stuff that make them remember something together. You feel what I'm saying?
Hey,
brother, you right. Freaking boogies at people. That's a beautiful thing.
Let me give you this. Now, late 90s, 2000, right? I know now everything is like date night, and you talking about date nights, we see it on pictures and videos and so on and so forth. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking that. However, in late 90s, 2000s, family night for us was to go to the masjid and sit in the lecture. It used to be our thing when I used to live back in New York, back in Brooklyn. We used to always, there was one day that was dedicated exclusively to the family, right? And we will all go to the masjid. Now, a lot of time, oftentimes, sometimes you'll see sisters was even part of the community. They would come out, will be in the masjid. They would go home. A lot of them would go home, cook their dinner, whatever, take it. If they had a lot of kids, they probably wouldn't come out. So you probably wouldn't see them except for like Juma or something like that, or, a monthly lecture or something like that. But you had some that, they went to the masjid. They were involved in the community just as much, right? And so, usually, and where we was at, this was near Masjid Tuckwood, if you ever been in that area, it's always like stores, halal stores, everything there. So, you would take your family out and you would go sit down, have a halal meal, kick it with your family and so on and so forth. Now, what I did notice is this, and it's just me, I'm a person that's a real analytical person. So what I noticed with myself and my peers, the more we learn, and this is why I always encourage brothers, if you got a wife, make sure your wife learn with you, right? The more you learn and the stronger you grow in Islam, the more what you find was that you condemned dunya and you threw everything under the umbrella of dunya, even things that were considered basically innocent, because you're trying to get serious and you're thinking of things like managing time and so on and so forth, which is a good thing. I'm not knocking that. But then what happened was there was time where people had no recreation in a relationship. Everything was just, the man was always boggled down trying to make money, and the woman was always home trying to figure out how she's gonna keep her sanity with all the kids jumping off of the ceiling fan. You know what I'm saying? And it started weighing down on people. And so the dichotomy shifted. And as the cost of living started getting more and more expensive, everybody started to try to figure out how we gonna make it, right? And then the ace in the hole was, and I started seeing some people started sliding back to where they left, whether that be going out, however they earned their money prior to Islam. Then you had, then it was like a thing where you started seeing the sisterhood and brotherhood being challenged, because now, you're venting to this person and they're expressing that they're not happy because maybe possibly ain't no money, possibly brother can't get sirloin steaks no more. We keep eating his hamburger patties and putting gravy on it and telling us it's sirloin steaks, right? They started complaining about those things. And so then what started happening was that the idea of getting divorced, if these men can't take care of you, so I literally remember, because I ain't have a lot of money. I was broke. I'm an ex-drug dealer, so I didn't want to hear nothing about money, right? We would go to Juma, and I used to be scared to take my wives to Juma at the time, because I thought by the end of the khutbah I was going to get divorced, because that's all everybody kept talking about, how men couldn't take care of women and they're going to get divorced. Now, mind you, the places that we lived in was the places that I rented and paid for. But I mean, we was gripping. I had no extra money. I couldn't take you out to eat and nothing like that. If I came home with something, it was a nitma from Allah Ta'ala that if I came home with something that cost over $20, you understand what I'm saying? So I started seeing that was playing a part, and a lot of good brothers were starting to get divorced. And so then what happened was, then the spin cycle started. You see what I'm saying? So that had an effect too. People were very, very happy. They were very happy in the beginning, but as things, the responsibilities start coming, with marriage. And I think that's something that's always missing, because the type of advice we get, it don't be like, be prepared for hard times. It's always like, be prepared to bail out on hard times. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yo, get ready to run out. If the man can take care of you, then you could leave. You know what I'm saying? And that started becoming more and more prevalent. And so then, in the person, they're trying to seek their interest, satisfy their interest. And then you started having more and more broken homes. As the homes started breaking, the more the homes broke, the more you had single sisters with boys. And the father, he out, chasing dunya, trying to make ends meet, and also trying to find a new wife, right? And so as that's happening, the children end up getting neglected sometimes. They get caught up in the wash. And so the mother, she can't come out because now she has to come out and start working. And so then guess what happened? Where the children go? Right? Now, these dilemmas is something that need to be talked about. This isn't necessarily negativity. This is actually preparation. Right? And not everybody's going to have the storyline of being impoverished. But there's a reality to it. And when you read, in the history of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll learn that a lot of the Sahabas weren't wealthy. They understood the goal and mission. The goal and mission is about the deen, right? You're going to have rough times. Abu Hurairah, when a lot of people read about Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, there was a period when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive. Abu Hurairah was so poor. You know what I'm saying? He was so poor. He didn't have no wealth. He came and lived. He lived in Sufa. He was part of Ahlul Sufa. It was like basically Ahlul Sufa. Sufa was like a shelter basically. It was for people who came to Medina to learn from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They would stay there for a certain amount of time. They get on their feet. They moved out, or they stayed and they got what they came for, and then they would leave. Right now, so with Sufa. After the Prophet ﷺ passed, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu started becoming wealthy. Everybody started becoming wealthy. When Umar was the Khalifa, people were becoming so wealthy. Some of the main prominent Sahabas who was there, the day one Sahabas, they started getting so wealthy. He was like, yo, we need to audit your money. He was the IRS. He was like, look, I need to check your records, right? You're not stealing from the Beit Mall. You're not taking money from people. You're not abusing your power. Are you paying zakat and so on and so forth, right? Because this was unheard of. This was unheard of. So, when the Prophet ﷺ was alive, so you have to have that balance, right? And the thing is when you get wealth, right, your heart starts inclining towards more dunya. The more money you make, the more you start thinking of things. We be making jokes when taxes come. I see somebody made a Facebook stat. It's like, yo, when my taxes come, I'm gonna be like, yo, how much that giraffe costs? Right? People start saying you start buying foolish things. But the thing is that zuhud has to be promoted as well. Austerity, right? Where you can have the dunya in your hand, but it can't be in your heart. The problem is when we got it in our heart, that dictates and drives everything from that point. That that it'll break you, right? And a person isn't a woman isn't necessarily a criminal if she got a divorce, from her husband because he couldn't provide for her, right? She's not necessarily a criminal. We can't put that label on her in that manner like negativity. You see what I'm saying? Now you got some that just marry, you're doing dowry hopping and stuff, but we're gonna keep it, positive tonight, right? We have to begin to teach them certain practices in life. We had to learn it as we went along, right? We had to learn it as we went along. One of the things that made me start learning tolerance for my wives is my daughter. This certain thing, my daughter, I was like, God, I can't, I just can't throw away my daughter, get rid of her, right? It started teaching me to have certain particular tolerance. You know what I'm saying? And, you start thinking about this stuff. But if you don't have that experience, you go from being a bad person, you learn how to be a good person. That's what Islam is. Good person going bad, a bad person going and learning to become good. You change it, right? You start learning about things. I see somebody in the comments mention that, you teach people about the conditions of Tawbah. These things. Knowledge has to be part. If you have a family and there's no knowledge in it, you're not going to change. And if you ain't changing, if you ain't trying to grow, you're dying. You're dying. Your heart is going dead. Everything is going dead with you. And then all of a sudden, your Islam, as you grow in your Islam, you just become like this Muslim. You just, you pray. I get to it when I can. I'm tired. You start developing that type of attitude and that behavior. So you have to begin to teach them, and they have to learn that as well. their intention has to be to establish a family. To establish a family. Not just so I can have halal sex. Establish a family.
But that's why some of the questions, we always should be, do you like learning? Are you able to be taught? You got to ask these type of questions nowadays. You know what I mean?
You can ask them, but listen.
But people are telling themselves,
bring them to class with you.
Yeah, people are telling themselves. You know what I mean? You start letting somebody talk. They telling themselves if they're studious or if they ain't studious. You start finding out. You know what I mean?
Don't fall for the I read all these books. I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah, I don't fall for that.
When you read a lot of books, and this is men and women, this ain't just women. Women are known to read more books than men at one point. I don't know if it's still the same now or not, but you read all these books and you begin to question them. They can't articulate what they just learned. You see what I'm saying? So you may speed through the pages, but what do you understand about this, right? What was it? What did you get from it? This is where dialogue comes from, right? If you're a person that loves knowledge, that's going to be the intimate moments. Intimacy isn't always just limited to sex. Intimacy can be, those conversations when you get up and make tahajjud. These are these not only is it acts of worship, but these are things that they build memories. You know what I'm saying? When you read about Aisha, right? A lot of women will read this hadith, right? And what used to be their intro. I want you to read to me the Quran like the Prophet ﷺ used to read to Aisha, right? I believe that was sincere. I'm just laughing because a lot of women
it's romance, but let's be real.
It was romance. We can't romance the same way the kuffar do. You understand what I'm saying? We can't have the same ideas. But their ideas happen to be supported by Islam, then alhamdulillah, we run with that.
But Ibn Khalil, it goes back to this, right? You don't mind, right?
Right.
This is why, I tell y'all this, behind closed doors all the time. Like, I don't want to fall short or, like, you want to marry somebody that's the coolness of your eyes. Why is that? Because you're going to want to do all of these things. You yearn to make that person happy, right? Mm-hmm. You yearn. When you marry somebody that you're content, like, that's what. You're going to yearn to do everything, to protect, to do everything. You're going to want to live and you're going to die for them people. Nowadays, it's like you marry somebody, you be like, man, what the man? Let me man, look, man, let me pray. Go back to bed.
No, man, listen. You can marry somebody.
That's what we doing nowadays.
All right, Shay, you can marry somebody that's hit, right? But if her deen is on the beam, if that's what you into. If her deen is on the beam, she look better than any woman that you could ever find.
Man, listen, that sounds good at all that, right?
That's real talk.
It's perfect. Listen, so you telling me, right? You telling me. Now, Mr. Hold on. Got to put the petty drawers kufi on, right? Got to put the petty drawers kufi on. So you telling me you would marry Freddy Krueger with Islam? You would marry Jason Voorhees with Islam? You would marry Pig?
Of course I wouldn't marry men.
Islam. That's the men. You're talking about men, Paul.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, like, you got a Freddy Krueger face. You know what I mean?
The only reason why is because of what the Prophet ﷺ said. He named those four things that women are married for, right? And then what did he say at the end? A lot of people never repeat this part at the end.
Yeah, marry the one with the religion.
No, that's not the end of the hadith. He made dua against the person who marries for other than deen. That their lifestyle receive no blessings.
Yeah, of course, because we have to. But it can go deeper. That aspect can be broken down in so many ways. Right, marrying a religious woman, right?
I got
many ways.
I got old parents.
There go right there. Look, you be a loser. See, that's somebody know that hadith.
But the thing is, we don't marry religious women, period, at all. That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about marrying.
They go your pessimism, They go your pessimism.
Bro, no, I'm not saying marry
the believers
with a
Go ahead, Leaf, man. We ain't listening to you right now.
It's a song, right? Like I said, I got old parents. My mom and pop was old, so I listen to the oldies a lot. So it's a song, right? How does it say? If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. He said, so from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you, right? So
Will Smith made a song like that.
Look, the dude said, "Yo, man, I saw your wife the other day. She sure is ugly." He said, "Yeah, but she can cook though." He said, "But she can cook though, baby." I mean, I say that to say it's not always about the looks, you know, like Imam Khalil was saying. You know what I'm saying? They can have qualities of the righteous. But you know what I'm saying?
You gotta have the clue. You gotta be satisfied who you with, though, because you're gonna do.
You're gonna be satisfied based off her righteousness, Sheikh. I promise you. I don't
look good. Her righteousness gonna make her look good.
Yo, exactly. Look, I think I'm like one of the, I think I'm one of the prettiest. I think I'm one of the prettiest dark-skinned big dudes you can find, right? But I didn't have plenty of wives tell me, "Oh, I married you because I like your personality. I like this." I said, "Hey, I still pulled you though." You know what I'm saying?
Listen, the ultimate love that you're gonna have for a woman is gonna be in Jannah. Your Hurain. Bottom line, there's no woman in this dunya that will even match to them. So you know, it's like you enjoy life as it is here. You know,
and then the thing with us is human beings, we insane, we vain. Even if we want to admit it or not, we have vanity with us. So she can be the prettiest thing walking, you'll find something just because we vain and we never satisfied. Man, look at her feet though, man.
What about the type of women, right?
You gotta want it, because if you don't want the woman you marry, you ain't gonna want to do all that. That's what I
say. Listen.
If
you will marry a woman.
If you
marry a woman, right?
Go ahead and marry Freddy Krueger.
Listen, you can marry a woman, right? That she looks good when you see her in her garbs, because you ain't seeing nothing else before you marry.
Absolutely.
And then when she come out the garbs, you're like, oh my God, right?
But then
now, hold on. This is true stories. Now, usually,
can you divorce off of that? Can you divorce off of that?
Listen, usually it happens, but guess when it happens? After they done consummated. My man, why'd you consummate if she was ugly? If you thought she wasn't no good to you, or since when you thought he was ugly, then why'd y'all consummate? I respect it if you be like, nah, I ain't really feeling this.
Right. You like, yo, put your clothes back on, man.
But you know, you
I'm
go
not
all
going to
the way.
entertain it. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying me. I don't entertain it. Period.
They're not wrong if they don't want to marry somebody that's not the coolness to their eyes. All I'm just saying is, if she got Dean, she's gonna look 10 times better. That's just, you know, that's just that. Or him.
Abu Muhammad, what I tell you what I wanted to do earlier. We ain't gonna say what was said, right?
We don't care about how you look. If you take care of him, you good.
And what did I tell you after you said it? I said, it's a whole bunch of them around there.
Right, it's a whole bunch of them. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'll be in doubt. I don't entertain it. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying me, because I don't want to put myself in something like, yo. Especially when you know your loyalty that you can give and what you're going to give this type of person. You just don't want to continuously give that and then keep throwing it away. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of us men are doing. We give so much to so many women, is that to a point where we ain't going to have too much to offer anymore besides a little bit of thoughts and theories on things. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. I mean,
the thing is,
sometimes it be where you shopping at, bro.
That's your personal. I mean, that's your personal preference, though. We can't say that's Dean. That's just your personal preference.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. What matters is what the Prophet Sallallahu said.
Right. Absolutely.
It's those.
So that's what I said.
Always want to encourage that person.
Y'all don't think that, you know what I mean, because all this stuff is supported, right? All this stuff is supported. You know, with what we're saying, right? We're bringing it up to keep y'all intrigued with what we're saying, because we want y'all to know we want everybody to be married, right? We're tired of the tainted marriages, the on and offs, and people saying don't marry and we're tired of that. We want to see successful marriages. That's the point
Yo,
of what we're
you
saying.
want to see how your money increase? Get married.
Right.
Your money increase. Have some kids. Your money increase. Money children don't take away your money.
You want to see if you're really a person that's a soul, get married.
That's facts. You know your shortcomings when you're married.
You like, man, I ain't
you start to learn. You start to learn you.
You find out if you really a Sufi once you get married, Jack.
Yo,
especially when you sleeping and you get hit in the eye while you sleep.
See, I'm a sucker. See, I might be hard, y'all, but on the real, I'm a sucker on the low. I'm a stone cold sucker. I'm one of them send roses to the job type of people.
Oh, that ain't sucking stuff. That's romancing your wife.
No. I'm saying it in a what's the fashion like a.
I don't know. Women want roses no more.
And that's what I'm saying in a dialect like that. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff I believe in. You know what I mean? What's going on? What we got some comments?
Oh man, I'm reading the comment my shake. No. We go ahead. What you saying though?
Oh yeah, I see what he said. Now I'm just saying, like you said, we don't even know what these women like nowadays, man. You mess around, do something, she don't like none of that.
You know what they like?
Nowadays she mess around like you buying her a gun and
that's cool too.
Magazine with a 50-round drum.
What the brother
and a little Dirk album, huh?
What the brother has said in the comment section, I know a situation like that. A brother married a sister, and the night that they were supposed to consummate, they didn't even consummate. She told him, you need to put that back in your pocket. I need a divorce.
Here you go, Mom. I was building with a brother the other day that actively seeking a potential wife, and man, it's scarce out here. Between the bust down and that I guess he's saying thought culture being adapted by Muslim women, or those disillusions concept on life, its values is shot out. Imam Muhammad knows what I'm talking about, as he turned into the Crimson Cure channel. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy on those who's desiring and seeking marriage. I agree. I agree.
As a matter of fact,
I said that earlier today. Remember, Mom? I said, how these brothers, how they be talking, when doors is closed with each other, it's crazy.
As a matter of fact, what I was talking about in the introduction, I was actually talking about the sister who's the Crimson Cure. I was actually talking about her and her late husband. They both was new Muslims. She took Shahada. He took Shahada. They end up meeting each other when she was walking past Masjid Dawah. This is when Masjid Dawah was on Madison and Karloff, right? So I was actually talking about them. You follow what I'm saying? And they was married for 20 years until, you know what I'm saying, Imam Khalil Shaheed had returned to Allah. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, they was married. After they got married 4 years later, then that's when Imam Khalil got sick. You know what I mean? And then from that point, he had a set income. They build together. You know what I'm saying? From that union, her sister became Muslim. Her little brother became Muslim. Her father became Muslim. You know what I mean? So it was from that union, Allah Ta'ala put barakah in that union. Not only did they learn Islam together, but also their brother, sister, father, all of them was learning Islam with them.
No. And that happens. And, we talked about it yesterday in the class, but when Sahabas became Muslim, they brought their family with them. They bring their family with them. You bringing in tribes of people. Now, unfortunately, the dichotomy of some of the situations that we have going on, you can't bring a family because a lot of people don't have a family, or so on and so forth. But, it's got it. You have to you have to, it has to be promoted. We can't say promote Islam and then we still sound like we talking double talk, like, but for real, in reality, right? No, reality is this is what we strive to be. What we do is not the standard. That's what we're trying to walk away from. You know what I mean? And that's always been a dilemma that we face, especially in our conversations as Muslims. You know what I mean? Like, I remember one time we went to the Imam, you know, and I didn't go. My wife went to the Imam, and she was mad with me about a situation, and you know, I was explaining my side, and you know, he kind of like hit me with the, I see what you're saying, but you know, in reality, we all
Just
job turkeys. Yo, I was hot sauce. I'm like, yo, this is not what I'm trying to promote to my wife. You know what I'm saying is right, but you're trying to, you know, you're pandering to her because you don't want her to feel left out, because a lot of sisters always feel like, oh, you know, this happened, you know, this dean, you know, it caters to men. Some women feel like that, and they had to be careful because, you know, you're making insinuating, you know, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his deen. So, but anyway, you know, he was trying to, you know, I guess make it feel good or something like that. And I was just like, you know, this is exactly why, you know, I'm kind of cautious of who I get nasihat from. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and it develops that attitude. You start to develop a bipolar type of attitude. You know, I'm a Muslim, I'm a good Muslim this, but part of me in my Negro ways, and I'm gonna do this. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it has to develop that, man. You know, and that's something I have to stay away. You know, I have to avoid. You know, especially new Muslims, they should avoid that type of stuff. You know, one thing you should avoid is sitting around people that's gonna, you know, try to convince you not to practice Islam in a serious form. But sometimes it's good though, because, you know, nothing is like watching the Muslims grow and they're fraternizing with their friends, because that become a form of dawah for people, right? Where they're fraternizing with their friends, and their friends like, oh, I don't know how you do this, that, the third, and they, you know, they still do their thing, and they begin to admire them and realize a lot of times that has an effect on them, and they become Muslim based off of that. Comment. These days, the people are saying they're not going to make their young children practice Islam because they're going to let them choose. Oh man, that's definitely something that is horrible. That is horrible. First of all, you know, as you quoted the ayat, it says that Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ku anfusikum wa ahlikum nar, right? That all you who believe, save yourself and save your family from the fire, right? That's also the other thing. Once you marry, right? Let's say that your intent, if you read, I promise you reading the Quran and you're really like trying to, you're going to change. You're going to change. Or because if your wife is reading that same Quran and your son is reading that same Quran and that's the whole purpose of it, they're going to be like, yo, you a job turkey, man. You jobbing. There's no way in the world that you will marry someone, develop a care and a love for them, and don't inspire them to practice Islam. And there's no way that you could claim that you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stay with someone who constantly disobeys him or don't believe in Allah ta'ala. It's problematic. And how could you have children and not encourage your children to worship Allah ta'ala? I'm going to give you the opportunity to go to church. You can go to Easter church with grandma, or you can go over here with Papa, right? There's no way. If you love your children are precious to you. You're going to protect them from kufr. Even if that means to, you know, take away the phone so they're not watching anything illicit and things that you're doing that for their own embetterment. I think nowadays a lot of parenting is more so everybody's just trying to be their kid's friend, right? You know, my ex-wife, her mother, she told me why she hated me so much. I respected her honesty. She told me that I hate you. You know, you made my she used to call it, she ain't never called me Khalil. She used to call me Cleo. Right? Because she will mimic my grandma. My grandmother used to call me Cleo. She couldn't say Khalil. So she was like, Cleo. It's like, Cleo, I hate you, and I hate that halal food, that halal, whatever you call it, right? And I'm like, well, damn, what did I do to you, right? I was like, if anything, you know, I thought you would appreciate the fact, you know, I reconnected you, your daughter, etc., etc. She said, this ain't what I had planned for me and my daughter. I had planned that me and her was going to go to the clubs together. We was going to turn up, da-da-da-da. And I hate you because you took that away from me. And I'm like, damn, right? You know, it didn't do anything to me, but I was just like, well, I respect your honesty, you know. And any chance that she could to drive the knife in that flesh, that's what she would do, right? So how could you, as a Muslim, even have that kind of idea? So this is that's actually a good. I'll reward you for bringing that up. That's actually some good, you know, good advice, especially for new Muslims, because sometimes these be conflict, especially if they got family in their ear. You know, you know, you need to let that child choose. Don't you push that on them. You know, some people are very strong. Like, yo, look, because the whole thing is, if you read throughout the Quran, it's always talking about paradise and hellfire, right? So, you know, anybody who reads, you start reading about the torments, the tortures of the fire, where the skin will be burnt off and it'll grow back. There's no water. You'll sweat. You'll cry. You know, you'll run out of tears and blood will start coming out your eyes on the camera. All these things. Who wants to put their children through that? Who really wants to put their children through something like that? You don't even want to go through it. You become a snitch on the day of judgment. It wasn't me, Allah, was him.
It does, though, Amir Khalil.
Huh?
You know what else that statement does? Don't push that on the child. Let the child choose. That's a statement of, okay, I want my child to be confused. I want my child to be confused, and my child to accept the illusion.
You know what used to be an outward sign of that? I used to observe this a lot. Is you'll see the mother full veil, everything covered, not even her eyes showing, and the daughter got on Daisy Dukes. You know what I mean? That's usually sometimes because you know about nakedness, haya, modesty, and things of that nature. Even if the girl didn't cover her face, but dang, you at least tell her to cover her body, right? These type of things. I'm telling you, it's just a matter of us embracing Islam and being serious about it. I'm not saying people ain't good Muslims, but we can always be better Muslims. And don't ever be content with what little bit you're doing, because it is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are able to pray 5 times a day, be grateful, because that's Allah ta'ala. How many Muslims you see that don't pray 5 a day? They can't even get through the first half of the day, the first 3 day prayers, from Subh to Asr. They be struggling. People are afraid to proclaim that they're Muslim. You know, but we take those kind of things for granted, though. You know, so let me see. We've been on here about an hour and some change. We get ready to wrap it up. So I got a question for everybody, right? What advice would you give the new young married or potentially married Muslims? What kind of advice? We can start with you, Malik, because you ain't really said much tonight.
I mean, I think what I would give is the same thing that I would give an old Muslim, new Muslim. Is just, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to ikhlas, man, being sincere. You know, the whole of the religion is about, you know, sincerity. You know, and Allah mentions in Surah to Bayyina, where Allah says what? He says, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ اللَّهُ دِينَ حُنَفَاءَ. Allah says, and Allah has only commanded you to worship Him, to worship Allah, being sincere and making the deen sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being upright. So I think, you know, we got to have sincerity, because like I say, we play too much. You know, I've been Muslim since I was about 10 years old, and we play too much. So if we always laughing, joking, you know what I'm saying, playing around, how you think the new Muslim is looking at the old Muslim, the Muslim that been Muslim for 10, 20 years, 30 years. We're their examples. So, you know, we got to become more serious. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, when he said things, he didn't just say them for for, you know, just to say him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, everything he said was wahi. Allah says what? He does not speak of his own inclination, but what he says is wahi. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, if you everything he said was wahi. Allah says what? He does not. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said what? He said, if you knew what I knew, then you would last less and you would weep more. You know, like Amir Khalil, you just mentioned in the paradise and the hellfire. That's, you know, that's our aqidah, our belief. We're going to die. We're going to be judged by Allah. And, you know, ultimately the end for you is going to be paradise or hell. So I think we just got to be, you know, more sincere and, you know, show the new Muslims, like Saleh was saying about, you know, having couples that, you know, a lot of us grew up and we didn't see healthy Muslim couples, let alone healthy Muslim couples. So, you know, show those young people, you know, pull them under your wing. You know, you thinking about marriage? All right, well, you know, come with me, roll with me, young boy. I'm gonna show you how to do it. Or, you know, young girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it. We need examples. We don't have examples. And one of the things that we preach is, you know, about marrying young. We want to marry our youth young because I don't care if they 15, 16. We don't want our sons and daughters out here committing zina at the end of the day. So, you know, I'm pretty sure myself and all of y'all would rather have y'all kids married than being out here committing zina. But look at examples. When we look at the Sunnah of the Prophet, look at the way of the Salaf. Fatima and Ali. Fatima, Ali was like, they was like 15. They was young when they married. And that was, you know, a successful marriage. That was a true love story. You know, so look at so many, you know, so many of the companions, they married young. And, you know, those are success stories that we have to show our children, you know, and show the new Muslims. And, you know, some of those sisters that, you know, some of them, they marry, you know, a non-Muslim, or he takes shahada for the girl. Look at the instance of Sulaim. Sulaim, who was the mother of Anas ibn Malik. Abu Talha, he wanted to marry her. And, you know, she said, you're unclean, like you're a kafir. So Abu Talha, he took shahada. You know, Sulaim, she said that your mahar is your embracing of Islam. And Abu Talha, he became a good Muslim. So, you know, that's something like a phenomenon in our time. The sisters be talking about, oh, I'm going to get me a kufar. Nah, that's nonsense. But if you're going to get a non-Muslim, then hold them to account. Tell them, you know, you want to marry me, then you're going to take shahada, you're going to go to these classes, you're going to be around the brothers, and you're going to be serious. So, I mean, we just play too much. We got to be, you know, more serious and, you know, do this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah knows best.
No. Saleh, what's your nasiha?
My nasiha would be, make it work. Make it work. Make it shake and bake. You know, don't get discouraged. Don't let other people's failures be your final destination. Make it work. Try hard, because it's going to come with bumps and bruises, and constantly get up, you know, and just think of each other. Think of each other, you know, in every aspect of it when you're about to do something. And I gave a live and I said, you know, that the Muslims, we're a mirror to each other, right? We're a mirror to each other. So if we're a mirror to each other, I should be seeing me when I look at you. So now I got to worry if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing correctly, so it don't reflect on you neither. So we got to start thinking like that, you know, and you know, as new married couples, you know, and know that, you know, pretty soon that you're going to be the example. So start being an example now. Have that drive that we're going to be that successful marriage, not going inside of a marriage with the idea that, man, I may be divorcing you soon.
or the sister that asked for a very insignificant, affordable dowry, just in case I get divorced for you, I gotta give it back.
5 bands.
Yeah, man, leave them 5K boys alone.
Something you can, you know. Who you want to answer that, Imam Khalil? You know, because my perspective is a little bit different on how things is nowadays, man. To answer something like that.
Don't worry, about 10 years, you're gonna sound like us. Probably better. 10 years. All right, Muhammad.
All right, well, my advice to new married Muslims would be to put Allah and His Messenger first. Put Allah and His Messenger first. That would be my advice. Whatever problems and issues that you have, take it to Allah first. Take it to Allah. Both of you take it to Allah, right? And look into the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and see how the problem can be solved and executed and how to go the right way about going about doing it. Right? That will be my advice. You know, Imam Malik Robinson, he had mentioned the Fatima Zahra and Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? That they was young when they got married. Not only that, but they was very shy. On their wedding night, they were so shy that they didn't consummate. They didn't consummate. They was like, Ali was on one side of the bed, Fatima was on the other side of the bed. And the Malaika was waiting to record. And the Malaika, they left them and went and complained to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said that Ali and Fatima would not consummate. And it made Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam go to their house. And he sat in between them and he put their hands in each other's hand. All right. And that started. But you know, so you look at that example of like many, you know, many I don't know too many Muslims that got married young. I was one of the Muslims who got married young myself, right? My idealism was at the moment was Allah and His Messenger, but you know, so I got married young because I was forced to get married young. You know what I mean? Because my father, my Abby was not having a situation to where any children would be gotten out of wedlock to his tarnishing our lineage. Right. So the thing is, like, and even my children after me, they got married young. My oldest daughter, she got married young. My oldest son, he got married young, straight out of high school. Been married 7 years now. Got 2 children. So my advice will always be to the new married couple: put Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger first, and realize that you don't have no success without Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and His Messenger. All right, that's my advice. Okay, that's my advice to the new Muslims. And with that, inshallah ta'ala, we could close out. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lama ukhliqa qatimi lima sabaqa nasr al-haq bil-haq wa hadi ila siratik al-mustaqim wa ala alihi haqqa qadrihi miqdarihi al-azim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati ma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin wa salatu wassalam ala rasulil kareem subhanaka allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدر المقدار العظيم. Everyone, share this video. Share this video on your timeline. If you haven't liked the YouTube channel and subscribe, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, keep the algorithm going up. Yeah, everyone share this video. You know what I'm saying? Hit like. Hit hearts, you know what I mean? Hit care and share the video.
No.
All right. And thank everyone for giving us y'all time again on this Friday night. Yesterday, some of the people was on our program yesterday. The Dean of
3 hours.
3 hours, and they was there from the beginning to the end. May Allah Ta'ala reward you, and may Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala increase all of us in goodness. Ameen. And bring being barakah not only to our marriages, but to our wealth, to our dealings with each other, and to our camaraderie. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a good night, inshallah.